All right, I will go ahead and let us get started. So Emery, it's just you and I. If you'd like, you can type in the chat and share your favorite song or something that made you laugh or what you're doing for Mother's Day in case if you're celebrating Mother's Day. And if you want to skip the warm-up, you can just type skip and I'll know you're ready to skip on to the math part. Can you hear me, Emery? You can put a thumbs up or you can type yes in the chat. Okay, well, I will go on ahead to the math part for today. And here's the very first problem. I'll give you a second to read it and try it on your own if you'd like, and then I'll walk through it in just a moment. All right, so this first problem says, I am an odd number. You do not say me when you count by fives. I'm greater than 1, but less than 7. What number am I? So this is a little bit of a riddle to see if you remember what odd and even numbers are. And if you remember how to tell if a number is smaller or greater than another number. So what I'll do is I see they said I'm greater than 1, but less than 7. So to start out, I'll write out all the numbers I know between 1 and 7. So I'll type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And then they tell us I'm greater than 1. So if it's greater than 1, we can't be the number 1. And it says I'm less than 7. So if I'm less than 7, I can't be the number 7. So I'll get rid of 7. All right. Then they also tell us, let me go back. Oh, I see Emery. 5. Okay, look, so they said you do not say me when you count by fives. So I know you know how to count by 5. So if we think about how we count by fives, we say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I know you could do that all the way up to 100. But they don't want us to include a number that we would say when we count by fives. So we have to erase 5 as well. Okay. And then we're just left with 4 numbers, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. All right. They tell us, they give us one additional clue. It says, I am an odd number. All right. Emery, do you know what an odd number is? So an odd not really. Okay, that's all right. So odd numbers, we can't split it evenly between two people. So 2 is an even number. Let me go and get my marker. 2 is an even number because if we had 2 cookies, I would get 1 and you would get 1. So that's even. 4 is an even number because if we had 4 cookies, I would get 2 and you would get 2. And 6 is an even number because if we had 6 cookies, I would get 3 cookies and you would get 3 cookies. So it's like thinking if the number is fair, if you can share it evenly. But 3 is not an even number. It's an odd number because if we had 3 cookies, I would get 1, you would get 1, but we'd have to split the third one. So I see you just typed something in the chat and you picked 3. 3 is the correct number. So they gave us a whole lot of clues and we figured out which number it was together. All right, so now you've practiced working with even and odd numbers. You reviewed what happens when you count by 5s, and you thought about what it means for a number to be greater or less than another number. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clear off my drawings, and then we can go on to the next problem. Okay. So this is a bit of a riddle as well. It's a little bit harder than the last one. I want you to just try and see if you can read the problem on your own, and then we'll work on the math together. So I'm going to give you a moment to read it, and then we'll work together. All right, so this riddle says, let me get my highlighter. Nora has 11 pens. All of the pens are either blue or black. There are 3 more blue pens than black pens. How many blue pens does Nora have? All right, so this is going to take a couple different steps. For our first step, I want us to think of all the numbers we can add together to make 11, okay? So I'll show you what that looks like, and then I want you to see if you can give me an example. We could do 0 plus 11. That equals 11. We could do 1 plus 10. That equals 11. We could do 2 plus 9. That equals 11. We could do 3 plus 8. That equals 11. Now I'm going to pause right here for just a moment. Emery, can you think of a pair of numbers that add up to 11? I'll give you a moment to see if you can see what's happening to our numbers. And you can type in the chat if you want to skip and just work on it together. And I think we had one more person join us. We have Ezra who joined us as well. So Ezra, I'll turn your mic on as well. I'm so glad you could make it. Okay. So Ezra's here. Emery, thank you, Emery. Great, great, great. Okay. So Ezra, I'm not sure when you joined us. but we're just working on this math riddle on the screen. And we're thinking of numbers that add up to 11. So I started, and I'm going to keep working. And if you think of an example, you can type it in the chat. Emery gave us his answer in the chat, and I'm going to keep working. We could do 4 plus 7 equals 11. We could do 5 plus 6 equals 11. 6 plus 5 equals 11. 7 plus 4 equals 11. 8 plus 3 equals 11. 9 plus 2 equals 11. 10 plus 1 equals 11. And then 11 plus 0. All right, so everyone check my work. Make sure I did all my math correct. And make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. All right. Now they gave us one more clue to help us figure out exactly how many blue and exactly how many black ink pens we have. It said there are 3 more blue pens than black pens, okay? So we have to find one of the problems here where one of the numbers has 3 more than the other, okay? So here we have 0 and 11. 11 would be 11 more pens. 10 would be 9 more pens. 9 would be 7. 8 would be 5. Let's see. 7 would be 3. I think this may be our answer. Okay. 4 plus 7 equals 11. And if she had 7 blue pens and 4 black pens, she'd have 3 more blue than black. So this was a really challenging problem. It's meant more for 4th and 5th graders, but it reviews concepts that you learned in 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Always want to make sure you read your word problem a couple of times and then underline or highlight the important information and then make up a math problem that you can solve to see if you get the right answer. All right. So I'll give you a moment to copy this down if you'd like, and then I'll clear off my drawings and we'll go on to the next problem. All right, so I'll go ahead and clear off my drawings, and then I'll go on to the next problem. Now this is for 5th graders who are on the call. So Emery, it may be a little, you may not have seen this yet. And Ezra, you may not have seen this yet either. But still read the problem. And then I'll show you how we can solve it. Yeah, Emery, you're in 1st grade, so I know this is going to be a little, maybe a little challenging for you. I think it's so good for you to watch it with us. So I'll just go ahead and walk through this problem real quick because we don't have any 5th graders with us right now. So this problem is asking us to make the largest quotient possible using the numbers below. Use each number exactly once. So a quotient is the answer that we get when we do division, and you'll start working with division in 3rd or 4th grade. And they want us to have the biggest answer possible when we do our division. So one way we could do this is 27 divided by 7 plus 2 is the same as 27 divided by 9. Okay. And so I'll skip walking through this problem for now because we don't have any 5th graders who are on the call with us right now. So I'm going to clear that and I'm going to go on to this one. Okay. And Emery, I think you could do this one. If you don't know how to describe it as a fraction, just tell me about if you think all of the shape is shaded in, some of it, half of it, and then Ezra, you can tell me the fraction because I think you've seen fractions before. Yeah, so Emma, I think you can do this one. Try it, and you can type it in the chat. And then Ezra, you can type it in the chat, or you can come off mute, whichever you prefer. All right, take about 10 more seconds to think before I give you the answer. Ezra says 1/2. Perfect, perfect. All right. You see they've divided the shape into 2 halves or 2 parts, and they shaded in half of it. So you could say 1/2, or you could write it out in a fraction. We have 2 parts, and we shaded in one of those 2 parts. Right? Okay. I'll go ahead and clear off my drawings. This one. And I think this is our last math problem for today, and then we'll do some reading. Okay. This one says, write 3/10 as a decimal number. So we have 10 parts, and we've shaded in, or we have, or we've kept 3 of those parts. This is going to test whether or not you remember how fractions work and you remember your place values. So I'll write out an example. They want us to write 3/10 as a decimal number, so we know we'll have a decimal point somewhere in our answer. And I'm going to go in and fill in our place values. We know that first place to the left of our decimal point is the ones place. Then we have the tens place, and then the hundreds. And we could go on and on and on. I'm going to make that a little smaller. Oops. It's the hundreds. That's the tens. That's the ones. Okay. And then later on, you learn that on the right side, you have place values as well. The tenths, then the hundredths, and then the thousands. All right. So this number on the bottom of our fraction, our denominator, tells us we had a shape that we cut up into 10 parts, a tenth, and we have 3 of them. So we would put a 3 in our tenths place, and you can put a 0 everywhere else if you'd like. Emery, you may I'm pretty sure you haven't seen that one before, but Ezra, have you seen this type of problem before?
No.
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 Okay, but you know what 3/10 as a fraction would look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for Emery, I'll show what 3/10 would look like. So I'm going to draw a shape. I'm going to divide it into 10 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops. So it's like you had a chocolate bar and you sliced it into 10 pieces and you kept 3 of them. You'd have 3/10 left. Okay. I'll go ahead and clear all these drawings for right now. We usually would take a break right now. Emery, do you need a break? Ezra, do you need a break? Or would you like to keep moving on to the reading part of today? Ezra, is that yes, you want a break? Emery says no.
Yes.
Yes, you want a break? Okay, so we'll all take a quick 3-minute break. And then we'll move on to the reading part. We'll get started in about 1 more minute. All right, Ezra, are you there? Emery, are you there? Okay, Ezra's back. All right. Now we'll do the reading part for today. So we will work for a little bit on main ideas to get started. Oops, 1 second. Let me refresh it. Okay. So they gave us details from a paragraph about fairs, like a county fair, a carnival, and they want us to choose the main idea that ties all the details together. So if you were kind of writing a paragraph that had these details, what would you title your paragraph? That's another way to think about it. So I'll give you both a chance to read it, and then once you've read it, you can type in the chat 1 or 2 to tell me what you think the main idea is that ties everything together. Okay, so I see Emery's picked. Okay, we'll give Ezra a chance to pick. Thank you, Emery. All right. And Ezra picked, and you all both agree. Awesome. So it says, people can win different kinds of prizes at fairs. Fairs often have many rides to go on. and many fairs have delicious treats to buy. The main idea is fairs have fun things for people to do. If we pick the first one, people eat all kinds of food at the fair, we would be ignoring the first detail and the second detail. But the third one includes prizes, rides, and treats because those are all fun things to do. Great job, y'all. Okay. Here's another one. This paragraph is about writing letters. So you can type 1 or 2 when you've picked the main idea. Okay. Emery's made his decision. We'll let Ezra make hers. All right. And you all both agree. It says letters often begin with dear, followed by the name of the person. Letters usually end with words like sincerely or thank you. People almost always sign their names at the end of the letter. The first one says letters usually follow a certain pattern. The second one says greetings are one of the first things found in a letter. We wouldn't want to pick the second option because it ignores the second and third detail. So you all are doing great at this. We'll do one more like this, and then we'll work on a different skill. This one is about Wisconsin. All right, Ezra made her decision. We'll let Emery make his. All right. And you all both agree again. Perfect, perfect. So it says many Wisconsin cheeses are made from cow's milk. Wisconsin uses a lot of milk to make butter. Wisconsin uses milk to make different kinds of ice cream. So they talk about cheese, butter, and ice cream, which fits with the second idea. Wisconsin makes many foods from milk. We wouldn't want to pick the first option because it talks about yogurt, and none of these details talk about yogurt. Okay, so I'll clear off all my drawings and we'll go back. We'll work on the author's purpose. So trying to think about why an author does something, writes something, or gives you a certain detail. Okay. So hopefully you can see this. And they want to know, what is the main purpose of this website? So why would the author make this website? And you have 3 options, 1, 2, 3. Good. Ezra picked one. We'll wait for Emery. Thank you, Ezra. And Emery picked one. Okay, so both of you all picked one. Let's read the poem together. So it says Poetry Corner. That's the name of the website. My dog ate my homework. That's the name of the poem. It says, oh, teacher, please listen. I would not tell a lie. My dog ate my homework. He's such a playful guy. He opened his mouth, his teeth dripping wet. Now my work is gone because of my pet. And then if you're on the website, you can save the poem to look at it later, or you can share the poem. Okay. So the first option says the author made this website to inform people about one way to write a poem. All right. The second option says the author made the website to persuade people to buy a pet dog. The third one says to entertain people with a poem about a dog. Now, both of you picked the first option. However, I'm not sure if that's the one we'd want to go with. To inform people about one way to write a poem. Now, this is one way you could write a poem. There's many different ways to write a poem, but the author isn't giving you any tips about how to write a poem. They're not telling you about the structure of a poem. They're not talking about different types of poems. And it looks like someone changed their mind. Ooh, it looks like Emery changed his mind. Okay. Those are a couple different reasons why I'm not sure if the first option is the best one. The second one says to persuade people to buy a dog. Now, neither of you picked the second option, but I still want to talk about why it's a little tricky. Now, the author isn't talking about the benefits of a dog, why you'd want to have a dog. It's actually kind of discouraging you from getting a dog because the dog might eat your homework. I think the third option would be the best one because it's just a funny, silly poem that talks about the author's dog, okay? The author wasn't trying to give you tips for writing, and they weren't trying to persuade you to get a dog, okay? So I always recommend read all of the options and see how you feel before picking the very first one, okay? Let's try another one. So here we have a brochure, and we need to figure out why someone would make this type of brochure. So I'll let you take a moment to read it, and then you can pick the first, second, or third option. Right. Let's see, Emery's picked. Ezra's picked as well. All right, and you all both picked the third option. So this brochure is for Dr. Daniel Castro, the children's dentist, and he's listing out 4 steps to get a great smile. Brush your teeth twice a day, floss your teeth once a day, don't eat too much sugar, and see your dentist twice a day. And both of you picked 3, the third option, to inform people about the way to have healthy teeth. Perfect, perfect. We wouldn't pick the first option because he doesn't really talk about parts of a tooth. Let me see, someone type something in the chat. 3, yep. We wouldn't want to pick the third one, the first one, because he's not talking about the different parts of a tooth. He doesn't have a diagram that's showing you the different parts of the tooth. We wouldn't pick the second option because he's not trying to get people to get a specific type of toothbrush or to change their toothbrush. He just wants you to use it. So the third option would be the best one. He gives you 4 tips on how to have healthy teeth or a great smile. And this will be our last one like this. And then we'll work on a different skill, and then I think we'll be done for today. So take a moment, and then you can type in the chat what you pick. All right, Emery shared his answer. And Ezra shared her answer. So there's a little bit of disagreement. All right, so let's look at this together. It says the White House. The White House is in Washington, D.C. It is where the President of the United States lives and works. The White House is very big. It has 6 floors, 35 bathrooms, and 132 rooms. Okay. They give us 3 options for the main idea: to inform people about the White House, to persuade people to visit Washington, D.C., and to inform people about what the president does. All right. Now, the first option makes sense. It's titled The White House. It tells us where it is, who lives there, how big it is, how many floors it has, how many bathrooms it has, how many rooms it has. The second option says to persuade people to visit Washington, D.C. Now, visiting the White House is a pretty cool reason to go to Washington, D.C., but the author doesn't give us very many reasons about why you'd want to visit the city. And then the third option, to inform people about what the president does. Well, this article tells us where the president lives, but it doesn't really tell us about his job, the good parts, the hard parts about his job. It mainly focuses on where the president lives, which happens to be the White House. And I see someone typed in the chat, so it looked like Emery changed his mind. All right. Sometimes you have to read the answers a couple times before you get an answer you feel confident with and you want to stick with. So now we all agree on the first one. I'll click submit. I'm going to clear off my drawing so we can work on one more topic before I let y'all go for today. Okay. Here we're going to work on, something called literary devices, which is just a fancy way to say special tools or tricks that writers use to make their writing a little bit more interesting, okay? Here we're looking at similes, and I'm going to circle the word simile. So a simile compares 2 different things using the word like. So you'll see the word like, and it compares typing to a tap answer. Okay, so we need to read this simile and then try and figure out what the author means by that sentence. Okay, so take a moment to read the sentence and then pick what you think the author meant by it. Emery made his choice. We'll give Ezra a moment. Right. Ezra. All right, so you all both picked the first one. So it says, what is the meaning of the simile? Maria's typing was like a tap dancer performing on stage. Did the author mean Maria made up a story about a tap dancer, or that Maria made rapid tapping noises? I want both of you to think a moment about what it sounds like when someone types and what it sounds like when someone tap dances. Tap dancing, you have metal on the bottom of your shoes, so it'll make a certain type of noise. Oh, I see Ezra changed their mind. Okay. And Emery, think about what it sounds like when you're typing on the computer and what it would sound like to tap dance. Yeah, so y'all both changed your mind. So the author didn't compare her to a tap dancer because she's writing a story about a tap dancer. He's saying her typing is clicking and it's loud and it reminds him of a tap dancer who is clicking their shoes on stage. Okay, let's try another one. And this time they give us 3 options to pick from to make it a little bit more challenging. Okay, Ezra made their decision. All right. And Emery made his. All right, and y'all both agree. So it says, what is the meaning of the simile? Pamela's green eyes are like jewels. Okay. The first one says Pamela's eyes are dry. Second one says Pamela's eyes are expensive. The third one says Pamela's eyes are sparkling. Okay. Now, all of these things could be true. Jewels can be dry, jewels can be expensive, and they can be sparkling. But the author was most likely talking about the fact that her eyes sparkled like jewels, because jewels are most known for being sparkly and shiny. Okay, so this will be our last one, and then we will be done for today. All right. Ezra picked an option. We'll wait for Emily. And Emery picked his option too, and y'all both agree. So it says, what is the meaning of the simile? Eve's hair looked like wild vines. Eve's hair was green. Eve's hair was tangled. Eve's hair was pretty. Now, vines can be green, vines can be tangled, and vines can be pretty. But the fact that they said it's one special word, wild vines, probably talking about the type of vines that are all tangled up like Eve's hair. Okay. I'll click that and we got all of those correct. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clear off my drawings. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so we are all done for today. You all did wonderful. I always appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to come and practice some math and some reading. Okay, if you have any questions about what we talked about, you can type it in the chat or come off mute. And if you don't have any questions, you are free to go. And I hope I see you next week. And I hope you have a great week at school. So you can close your laptop or exit out if you are done for today. All right. Ezra, did you have any questions? If you don't, you can just close your laptop or you can exit out. I think you're on mute. If you don't have any questions, you are free to go, Ezra.